President Trump just finished taking questions from reporters with the president of Egypt at the G7 meeting. There is some news breaking out of this. Megan Casella joins us right now with the highlights from that. Megan, good to see you again.
Becky, that's right. This was the first time we heard from President Trump on camera today, and he was being asked specifically about that draft 14-point memorandum of understanding that we've been talking about for the past few days. And the president suggesting here that this is not a final document, that things could still be changing, and that if he doesn't like the way negotiations go, the U.S. and Iran could return to active war. Take a listen to the president's comments.
No, it's not final. It's a memorandum of understanding. And if I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at them, dropping bombs on their head.
When do you expect the word?
If I don't like it, if they don't behave, we'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head.
Guys, the president here severely undercutting some of the stability that he and his top officials have been trying to generate this week with this deal. The argument we've been hearing all week from the Trump administration has been that, yes, this is a bare bones document and it leaves a lot to be left negotiated. But what it got the U.S. and the rest of the region was a lot of stability here while they worked out the harder details. It was extending the ceasefire. That is still true. But the president, of course, saying now that if he doesn't like the way things are going, potentially even within the next 60 days, he says he won't hesitate to return to dropping bombs. Becky?
Yeah, I guess I can't say I'm completely shocked by this, Megan. There's been a lot of pushback about the terms of the deal, how you make sure that the Iranians stick to the terms of some of these things, questions about all of those issues. That's why I asked the last time you were with us about the idea of removing the military, because that's always been kind of the cudgel that President Trump will hang over anything to try and get them to the negotiating table and try and make some of the progress with some of those negotiations.
Right.
I can't say I'm shocked to hear this.
That's right. And I think that's fair. I mean, he, of course, does not want to remove what he views as the U.S.'s biggest negotiating point is the power of the military. He doesn't want to take that off the table entirely. So, in one hand, not surprising. On the other hand, though, the argument at the G7 all week and when talking with regional allies, and specifically, especially European allies who really want to see this war ending, has been, well, now we've gotten to firmer ground. We're going to cool tensions. Both sides, cooler heads will prevail on both sides while they work out the rest of the agreements, which, of course, continue to be the hardest ones. So, you know, the president in some ways may be trying to balance those two things, not wanting to remove what he sees as the U.S.'s biggest leverage point. But also, this really does undercut that stability, and things like markets that have been celebrating this deal because they think it means the end to this war, clearly showing here we're not there yet.
Look, I think what the European leaders want, and many other areas like China and India, they want the strait reopened, and that's why we've seen oil prices. In fact, can we take a look at oil prices and just see where they stand at this moment? Oil prices were at $76 when we started. Now it's at $76.46.
If there's an undercutting of the stability that you're talking about affecting the markets, I don't know what markets you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to play this out and see. But right now, WTI is still sitting below $77 a barrel. That's the immediate stability that this has brought, the idea that the strait would be reopened. And I think the oil markets are going to reflect any concerns, any conditions that are brought up, because the war premium came out of that market immediately with this coming out the other day. Obviously, the president saying this, that's going to catch some attention. We'll see how it plays out in the markets. But this is the first time he's been speaking on camera today, and Megan is following all of this very closely. Megan, thank you for bringing us those comments and continue to watch all of this and bring us any developments as they happen. Megan Casella.